pull two things. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here this afternoon. This is the last session here at Westchester. Woo-hoo! I am not Dave. I'm George. Dave Schlossberg is my co-worker. I'm George Spock. I sit next to Dave. I just took his program and used it. I have my other one broken, fell apart 3 years ago. We're in the Ben Salem field office up near the Ben Salem racetrack where the new casino is. My extension is 3606. Everybody's got one of my cards, right? My email address is on there, gspock@state.pa.us. Most of you have already emailed me, called me, and contacted me. What we're going to go over introduction to SERS, service credit, withdrawal options and taxes, benefit payment options, vesting. We're going to go briefly into disability retirement. REHP will be handled by Vicki. And
REHP is for absent.
Absent, yeah, but healthcare, just regular healthcare will be handled for faculty by Vicki. All right, SERS is a defined benefit plan. We're under the IRS code we're a 401A, which means we're a formulary program. We have our own state law that guides the pension plan. It's the retirement code, Title 71. It's online on our website if you want to go and read it. Anybody who has a legal background knows how exciting that can be, reading legal forms. Basically, a formula, and everybody, there's not a matching for matching dollar. It's a formulary program, so we have a defined formula which you use to calculate your monthly pension. Funding. We fund the pension. There's three sources of funding. We have members, fund, and everybody's usually at the AA. Under Act 9, back in 2001, people had the choice of either being in AA or A. The majority of the people did go in AA. Some people remained in A. There are other classifications besides Class A, AA. The state troopers are in A. The representatives have their own, and so do the judges have a different classification as well. So you contribute 6.25% of your gross salary. Whatever you earn goes into the pension system, 6.25%. The agencies, and in this case the agencies, I say she, you say Apache, contribute to the pension system on behalf of the members, and the board sets that. So each year the actuaries and fiduciaries get together, they calculate how well the pension fund's doing, and then set the rate for the next year, what the agencies, what she, he, what PennDOT, what all the agencies must contribute on behalf of the members. Prior to just a few years ago, we didn't have to have a rate floor. So if the fund was doing so well, they didn't have to the state didn't have to put any money into the accounts. Now, they set the rule after 9/11 and all this other stuff with the banking. They did a rate floor of 4%. So they're at least a minimum of 4% the state must contribute in. Sometimes it's going to be higher. We don't know what the rate's going to be each year, but it depends on how well in the next part of the funding the investments earnings do. All right. So if the investment earnings don't do as well as they project, they may have to turn around and increase rates to the agencies. Right now, well, the investment earnings we had before 9/11 were really well. After 9/11, they dipped, and then after this banking situation, they went down again. So far, they're doing pretty well this year. I'm not sure exactly what the percentage return is, but that's three major sources of funding for the pension system. Retirement types. There's normal, early, and disability. Normal retirement is age 60 with at least 3 years of service. You've got to have 3 years and have the age 60, or 35 years at any age. Early retirement is before age 60 with less than 35 years, but you have to have more than 5 years to be vested. Under early retirement, there's a penalty for every year that you're not superannuated, which is age 60 or 35 years. So the penalty varies between 3 to 6% per year. Disability retirement is you can apply for at any age with 5 years of service. And the reason why you're applying for disability is you're unable to perform your duties with the state. And with the disability, there's no withdrawal factor or penalty because you're considered superannuated. I won't say superannuated, but we'll get more into disability further in the presentation. The formula. We're assuming the Class AA membership. The formula we have is final average salary. The final average salary usually lasts 3 years, or is 3 sets of 4 consecutive quarters. Now for faculty, we also, I don't do it, but when they run your final figures, they go back by your last 5 contract years. On a rare occasion, the 5 last contract years may be a little bit higher than the 3 sets of 4 sets of 3 consecutive quarters. 3 sets of 4 consecutive quarters. So for faculty, it's a little different. So we do compare the last 5 contract years versus 3 sets of 4 consecutive quarters for the final average salary. And then we multiply that by the AA calculation, 2.5% times your years of state service. The second one we have underneath here is the final average salary times 2% times years of non-state service. And that's to be about out-of-state service or non-intervening military service. And that will equal your maximum single life annuity. However, it's not just that simple. So it's 2.5% times your years of service times your final average salary. If you're under age 60, multiplied by the withdrawal factor, which is the penalty to reduce the pension because you're not 60 or 35 years of service, and multiplied by the cost of a dollar annuity. So that's for every dollar that we pay you, we must put so much money into this account. Yes?
George, can we ask questions as you go along? Or?
Yeah, you can.
If it turns out to be your last 3 years, what if you've been receiving overload and working summers, and then you decided the last 2 years not to work summers and not to do any overload? Would that ever hurt you then?
No, it wouldn't hurt you. Your FAS can never go down, it can only go up. So that'll go back to your 3 sets of 4 consecutive quarters, your higher quarters in the past, and that would remain higher. It would stay at that higher FAS. So if you work longer and you're not working as much, then you just put more contributions in, but the FAS doesn't go down.
Okay, good.
Yeah. We had that rare occasions where it was in the Department of Insurance. One lady was a secretary, but she used to be the executive director when her party was in office. And then she took the secretary position. Her secretary became the director. So they would flip-flop. One would be like a $28,000 a year job, the other one's a $60,000 a year job. So when they were directors, that's what they would retire with a higher FAS. And that was the Department of Insurance in Radnor.
So the FAS can never go down from its maximum point.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Military service, non-intervening military service is calculated at 2%. Intervening, if you were called up to Iraq right now and had to go serve, that's calculated at 2.5.
If you had time in the public schools in Pennsylvania, would that be the 2.5?
It depends what it was. You had to elect, with the public schools, you'd be either 2.0 or 2.5, and that's a PCERS issue. Yeah, they have T and TD service, and I think their TD is 2.5. So I'm not sure about that. Oh, hit the button. All right. Service credit. For faculty, it's a little bit different. Here it has the 1,650 hours. Yeah, 1,650 hours of 1 year service. However, you guys go by contract. So it's a 9-month contract. You get 0.5 for the fall semester, 0.5 for the spring semester. So that gives you a full year accredited service. And it's easy for me to do. I know that 0.5 is 825 hours, which comes up to 1,650 if you add it together. 825 per semester. But we don't go by that, so if you're, look at hours. Sometimes they look at it and they're, well, he's a faculty, so he just gets 0.5. Credited service is state service or non-state service, such as military service, for which contributions have been made. So you're working, you're getting compensated for, that's credited service. If you're not getting paid, you're not getting credited for the service. So if you take a sabbatical without pay, you're not getting credited. If you're getting a sabbatical with pay, then you're being credited at that time. Summer school, you're credited with that, but you can't earn more than a year in a year. All right. And what I mean by that, we go by the calendar year, and you guys go by the academic year. So when you earn, you start in January, and if you were on, you do you're at 20 pays, and you get the summer school in there as well, you're getting 0.5. You don't get any more extra credit for that summer school. That money's going in, increasing your FAS, but it's not increasing your years of service because you can't earn more than that year to year for that. Make sense?
I don't, if you have service that you haven't purchased, you're being charged 4% interest, correct?
If you buy them.
I already have it on there, I just haven't bought it all out.
Well, you haven't set as a debt?
I don't understand.
Is it set as a debt?
Yes.
Yes. And that gains 4% interest as a debt until you go to terminate.
Right. But if you paid that off, would that increase your contribution?
Then your contribution, then you pay that off, and that money gains 4% in your account. That's part of your money to pay out to you. So you're going to pay, you're going to end up with the same monthly if you withdraw your lump sum, because that becomes part of your lump sum. And since you've already paid taxes on that money, again, it's taxed the second time, so you don't get any tax break on it. So in most cases, it's best to set that as a debt against the account.
So it's really no advantage to pay it off.
If it was prior to 1982, you'd want to buy it with post-tax dollars, and it wouldn't be considered taxable. But now, since they changed the IRS rule, and if you pay for it, you're just going to pay, you pay it off, but then that money was used from post-tax dollars, but would be taxed a second time because you got a benefit from it. They changed the IRS code on that. So there wouldn't be any benefit.
So you just handle it as a debt.
That's a natural debt at the end.
And therefore, you just, that's the amount of money you don't get out. You take the lump sum out.
Right. And so, but the other thing is, it's a concept when you're buying something like that. You get the bill, you don't do anything for it, and it increases your service, which increases the formula, back to the formula. Now your years of service increase, either by 2% or 2.5%, which therefore gives you the bigger present value. From that larger present value that you increase the formula, they subtract that cost of the debt off, and therefore you get more money monthly. So if we're doing nothing, you get more money, but it increases mathematically the present value. Yeah.
If YOS is greater than 40, can you get more than 100%?
You can never get more than 100% of your high year or 110% of your FAS. That was under Act 9. But then, if you're over 70, then they get a kicker for being over 70 on top of that, when you hit 71. So then you, because that kicker comes in, you can earn more than that. So it's kind of odd. A couple of faculty here, I had to go back and recheck their accounts. They were like close to 70, 80, and they had so many years of service plus the 45, and then I had to double check to make sure that it was right, because it was more than 100%, but it was with the 70 kicker in it. So if you're over 71 it kicks in, then you get extra money added in because your longevity, somehow they changed it legislatively, and then you get the 70 kicker and adds more money to your pension.
Is that what that long service supplement is?
Now, the long service supplement is just working past 40 years. When you get to 41, you get an extra 2%. But you can't get more than 100% of your high year or 110% of an FAS. Until you hit the 70, and you get the kicker, which adds more to it.
I'd have to see the numbers.
Right, and that's what it is. And then I sit there and I get your figures, and also, if you have SSI, Social Security integration, a lot of the faculty came in early enough where you had a choice whether to have SSI or not to have SSI. And if you worked over the Social Security wage base, then you put more money in once you hit the wage base. You put an extra 5% in contribution. Well, then when you go to retire and I got to work your figures up, I got to do the figures with the SSI in and with the SSI out, because in some cases, depending on the option, the SSI in will give you less money. So what will happen in that, what happens in that is then we refund your SSI money, and since we refund your SSI money, you roll that over, and then you get more money monthly because of just taking this SSI count out. So I have to go through everybody's, when you have SSI, I do almost like 6 calculations and double check it. In most cases, I will send the counts to my boss and then up to Harrisburg and make sure that's a correct count. And then when you sit with me, you go, well, you sent me 2, George. And I said, yeah, here's one with the SSI and one without the SSI. Well, why did I get 2? Well, as you see, under this option with the SSI in, you get more money. But if you take your lump sum out and pick this other option, you get less money with the SSI. So depending which option you're taking, if you're taking money out and which option you're choosing, it depends whether to have the SSI or not to have the SSI. It gets kind of confusing, but then I do them all, then we sit down and we go over it. And we look at it and go, oh yeah, if I want option 2, taking the lump sum out, having my wife get an annuity, it's best for me to do this. That's what we go with. Clear as mud. Yeah. Gotta like government. But yeah, the thing is, don't worry about it. We go through all that.
George, can I ask a question? Going back to the military time that you're purchasing, how is that based as far as, is it, say if I or an employee was in the service 10, 15 years ago, they had 3 years of service. How did you know, you're basing that off of 2% of what?
The way they calculate the military service, they have to have 3 years of state service in. So you got to have the minimum of 3 years of state service. Then you're eligible to purchase military time. They base the military time on the first 3 years of state service.
Okay.
What your share is and what the state share is, and then they add 4% interest from the day you started with the state on top of that.
So they go back and look at what it was in the beginning when you started.
Right, and then what we do is end up contacting Marlene and saying we need the members' first 3 years of quarters, what they were getting, you know, when they were getting it, and then we know when the contribution rate was. Then we calculate what the contribution rate would have been on that, and then what the interest is, and calculate that, and then make the bill based on that.
Okay.
And the service, we take their service, the entry date to their exit date, subtract it, and then divide it by 360. And it's 360 days in a year, and then that's how we calculate those by, and come up with years of credited service on it. So sometimes they're 2.9484 because they for some reason in the military they didn't give you the full 3 years. They'll give you 2 years, 11 months, 28 days for some bizarre reason. Any other questions from the military? All right, types of service you can purchase in SERS: prior state service. So if you worked for the state prior, before you came here, I had another faculty member who worked his way through college by working in PLCB, and he bought that time back from PLCB, Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. If you work at PennDOT or any other job going through college, you can buy that other time back. Out-of-state intervening and non-intervening military service, we just covered that. You can buy up to 5 years of non-intervening military service and all the intervening military service. Intervening is the time, like I said now, if you're actively employed and you got called up to duty and you served for 3 or 4 years and came back, and buy that intervening service. Out-of-state, any out-of-state teaching you guys have, if you want to have it considered for purchase, if you weren't in craft or if you weren't vested in that system, or if you want to forfeit that system, you contact me. I send you the forms. You send them to the university out of state. They send the forms back to you to send to me. I forward it up with your cost statement that you sent me, and they'll calculate it, they'll call them up and calculate what the cost is. If you can purchase it, they check it all out. Federal service in public schools. I had one professor over at Cheney. He had worked, he taught in one of the military schools over at Okinawa. Community college, if you worked at a community college school, even now if you work here and also work at a community college, that you should be in SERS in as well and have those contributions taken off. Cadet nursing corps service, I have very few of those, if any. Merchant marine time is prior to 41 to 45 when they were referring the ships over to England. Justice of the Peace Service before 1970. And other types of governmental service, the only one I can recall is the CETA Corps they used to have. And some was federal, some was state. We would check out to see which was state service, and we would calculate what the cost is. Purchase service. When you want to buy some service, if it's military or regular state service, I just send you the purchase service form, service 1, SERS 131. If you want to buy out-of-state time, you call me or email me, tell me you have some out-of-state time to buy. I would send you the out-of-state forms to give to you again to send to the university where you taught at. Get those completed, sent back to you, and then send in, attached to it, the SERS 131 form, the service purchase form, signed and completed, and then we'd forward all the information up to Harrisburg, and then they would work on creating the bill for you. When you get the bill, there's an invoice, and you have 30 days, 30 days to respond. They give you 3 different type of payment options: lump sum, you can pay it off in one lump, payroll deductions of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6-year payroll plan. Or like most people do now, they set it as an actuarial debt against the account.
Do you find problems going back far with that? I mean, you have something 40 years ago. I mean, is it possible that they can locate the fact that you were employed with the state?
We're at in
Department of Public Assistance?
with the state in Pennsylvania, it wouldn't be that bad. Welfare's not that bad. And if you worked at Embryville, the records are now pushed probably at Norristown, stuff like that. It depends where it's at. I had a guy call me, a professor who was here back in the 60s. Because he was a faculty member here, he was out in Oregon, and he called me because, this is before you guys, they said, oh, George would know, and they sent him to me, and he goes, well, I should be getting my money in with the state of Pennsylvania. And I said, well, it was a refund. If you're only here a year back in that time, it was a refund of your contributions. Well, it should be getting interest. If it's not vested, it doesn't gain any interest. And they didn't pay him back the $865, but we have the records unoptically scanned back to like 50 years ago. So we have an archive system of, for us. So if you decided that you needed that information, you put that in a request, they'd give it to me, we'd ship it off, we'd contact welfare, they'd look it up in their system and see if they have it. If they have it, they would send it back over and say, yeah, this is the bill. This is what he owes for it. It would be not much because we paid not much back in those days.
But if there's a process where you want to get credit for your service, you want to make sure that you don't wait until you're ready to retire to try to get that service credit, because it could take some time. To
research something like that, if it's 40 years ago, before they find it in archives, might take a while. Unless, if it was something 10 years ago, they probably have it right on file. But 40 years, And if you're going out of state too, now's not the time to buy out of state time if it's California. Even if one of the worst ones is down to UD trying to get that time. You try to ship off down there. A lot of professors have a hard time getting it. You have to drive down, go to the office and try to get the information from them. Multiple service. If you had worked for public schools like the Westchester School District and you terminate service with them and then came over to the state of Pennsylvania, you could, at the time when you first started, you would elect it with 365 days from the day you started membership with SERS. You would elect multiple service and combine your public school time with your state time. Now you had up to December 30th, 2003, if you're in prior. You started way back then, and under Act 9, they gave a window that people could elect multiple service up to December 31st, 2003. Now, you guys are all past the 365 days, so there's no way to elect that multiple service. All right, we draw on the contributions. Now we're coming down to the important section of the information here. Now, when you call me up, you get your figures. I work up figures for you. I mail them to your house. This is what's going to happen. You're going to have first section. What everybody wants to know is how much money did I put in the system, and that's your accumulated deductions. It's all the money you put in plus the 4% compounded interest from the day you started to the projected day that you're going to leave. So I work up those figures, and the first thing I'll ask you if you want to take that money out or have it paid to you. Money prior to 1982 has already been pre-taxed, so you don't owe any taxes on that money. If you purchase something after prior 82, it's considered taxable a second time. It falls under safe harbor ruling. So what they do with that is you can roll that money out, but a small portion of your monthly pension is considered taxable. They take that money that's already been taxed once before, post 82, pre 87, and they do a calculation to tell you how much of that of your monthly pension isn't taxable. A small portion of that money. Some people decide to leave the lump sum in. Some people decide to take the money out.
What do most people do?
It varies. Now with the economy changed the way it is, more and more people are deciding to leave the money in or looking at that option. Another thing people have decided, especially here at the university, the installments, the limited installment. Prior to rollover, if people would consider, I want to take it out for installments before people could roll the money over. Now that people can roll the money over because of the way the investments are going, some of the faculty members have decided, well, maybe not this year, I'll take it maybe 2 years from now, maybe it'll be coming out of it at that time, and 2 years after that I'll take the money, the balance of the money. I don't, for now it's getting 4%, I can't match that anywhere else, I'll leave it in there getting 4%, and then down the road, I'm having it, say you're leaving December or May 2010, May 2012, you're going to have the first installment paid to you. You can roll the money over. They'll ask if you want to roll the money over or have it paid to you at that time.
It doesn't have to be equal installments.
No. You set up the installments, you set up the time frame.
But I've tried to do present value calculations and all of this, and it seems if you leave the whole lump sum in, you're only getting about between 2.5% and 3%.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about installments. I'm talking
No,
about,
I know what you mean. Yeah, leaving it in or taking it all out. Yeah.
Yeah.
The difference.
Have you ever come up with what the amount is?
No. I mean, in most cases, it's do you need the liquid assets or you don't need the liquid assets. And the other part of the formula is if you elect to leave the money in and you don't want to take the lump sum out, and 2 years from now you call me up and say, George, I could use that 100,000 or that 200,000.
Too late.
Too late. You can't have it. So and that's just what happens. It's like, well, yeah, I had a guy just call me. He goes, I was misadvised by my financial planner. I could use that and go to another option, but you can't. That's
I did it on a 15-year present value, and it turned out to be only earning about 3%.
Right. When I remember back in the 90s when CDs were making 7-8%, and then the market took a hit, the black money in '89 was it, and you had other cases where, CDs were paying more money, or the U.S. Treasury was paying on what were they called? On certain loans, whatever they were doing, you could buy Treasury T-bonds and T-bills at a higher rate than what you're getting on interest on 4%. So, other people shopped around to see what they can get. But now the economy, with what the banks are offering and secure investments, what's insured and what's not insured.
So 4% is not guaranteed?
The 4% with us is guaranteed.
Oh, all right.
If you decide in 2 years that you don't want it now, but 2 years from now, it's gaining 4% until you take it out of the account.
So the 4 installments, is there a time limit?
You make the time limit.
But that has to be fixed when you
Right.
retire, or can you change?
That's fixed when it's retired.
So if I
So
say I
you
wanna
meet
take-
with, right, you
so
meet
you
with
could
me,
say I want to take 1 quarter out this year, 1 quarter, like that.
or you do 1 quarter, 1 quarter, 1 quarter balance,
And I could spread it over 8 years.
right? But you can't come back and say, I need it now. You know, it's by law, you have it now locked in to that 8-year thing.
If you do that, the installment thing, and you get those checks, can that be rolled in, or you have to take?
Yeah, before we send you out a check, they'll contact you like a month in advance and say, all right, you're scheduled to receive your distribution, your second distribution or your first distribution as of 1/30, 2013. Would you like to roll that money over to an IRA? Here's a rollover form.
Nice.
And you go, yeah, I want to do that.
That's good.
Because somebody else wanted to have it on file already, but then they didn't send it in, so therefore we couldn't process the account. But you didn't need to have it on file if you didn't say you wanted it rolled over, because then they would, when you go to pay you out, we would then ask you then at that time, do you want to roll it over? So
Just quarter means every 3 months or every 3 years?
what?
Quarter you're mentioning,
Every 3 months.
every 3 months.
Right. Well, you could. The quarter he mentioned was just a quarter of his money now, a quarter of his money then, a quarter. So I mean, when it comes down to these installments, you could pick that change again. You could change it to whatever you want. The installments could any time frame. So you could do. You would want the pre-tax paid now with your initial annuity payment, and maybe some money, and then next, 2 years from now, 25%. Then 5 years from now, 25%, and then balance as it is. And if you die, then that money's paid, because it's part of your contributions, will be paid to your family if you die. If you didn't take it all out, it's still in the system.
It is.
All right, if you don't roll the money over, now the big thing that happens here is when you have the lump sum paid to you, if you do not roll the money over, they're going to take 20% off the top for federal withholding. If you're under the age of 55, it's a 10% excise tax. And you must add it as income the year you're receiving. So if you go now the end of May and you're 26, they pay you the balance of the pays. They pay you your annual leave and your sick leave, and your wife's working, and you got paid this $200,000. What bracket do you think you're going to be in? Pretty high bracket, yeah. And then come January, we send you a 1099-R form, and the IRS is knocking on your door for a lot of money. You come to me and say, George, I didn't have enough withheld. Why? I says, well, we told you this is what it is regarding the pension. This is what it is regarding your monthly. However, you had to consider the annual sick leave payout, your work that you were getting paid, your W-2s, maybe your spouse is working, maybe you picked up another job right after that, working at Immaculate or something like that, so you have all this income coming in. You have to be careful with that, because you're at this point in time in your life, your house is paid off, the kids are gone, everything's liquid, a lot of liquid assets, a lot of money that's taxable. Let's see, rollover, and again, if you don't want to have the lump sum paid out in 4 installments, and if you're going to roll it over, but if you want to roll all the money over, you would then have the rollover form completed when you meet with me, and your lump sum, except for your pre-tax money, would be rolled over to your IRA account or what other tax-deferred account you want it to go to. Any questions? Taxes. The pension, the monthly pension is federally taxed income. You get the 1099-Rs at the end of the following year. We send them to you in January. We just went through this with the last group. There's no local taxes, no state or local in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. If you move to another state or another country, you got to check what you would have to pay for taxes. Now the different options. We have four basic options in the state system. Maximum single life is the first option. It is the base formula, the final average salary times user service times 2.5%, which gives you the max figure. Well, you get the max figure, we have to divide it by 12 to get your monthly annuity, because we pay you on a monthly basis. It provides for the maximum amount each month for life. You're going to receive each payment that I go over, you will get for the rest of your life. So it doesn't stop because they ran out of money or you used up all your present value. It only stops upon your death. Death benefit, if you choose the maximum single life and you leave your contributions in the account, the death benefit under that is your accumulated deductions. So the money you put in, if you don't use all that up, you decide to leave it in and get the higher monthly, and you die within a year, the balance of the accumulated deductions will be paid to your beneficiaries. If you used up all your accumulated deductions, usually in 3 years, there's nothing to be paid to the beneficiaries. Only the adjustment of 1 month, the last month. And if you have taken all your money out, all that they will receive is the adjustment of 1 month. The state share money, if you take max and you die and you leave the majority of the money of the state share money and you die after a year, the state share money goes back to the state. It does not go to anybody. It reverts back to the state.
But taking it in installments constitutes taking it out.
Right. Option 1 is the second choice. That's based only on your life expectancy. So upon your death, what is ever left of your contribution and the state share money is paid to your beneficiaries. And a beneficiary can be a person, place, or thing, or more than one person, place, or thing. What happens is we come up with that formula and we come up with your present value, your share, and state share using the formula 2.5 times user service times final average salary multiplied by the cost of a dollar annuity, and that's the whole present value. So that is the death benefit paid to your beneficiaries. But each month, as you use the monthly pension, you subtract that from the present value, and then upon your death, the balance will be paid to the beneficiaries. Now, you can name more than one beneficiary. Like I said, a beneficiary is a person, place, or thing. You can name your trust, your estate. If you're naming a trust, you name your alternate trustee. You need their name, their address, in case you pass, that we could send the information to them to get that paid out. Option 2, referred to as a survivor annuity option. That's based on your age and sex and another person's age and sex, a person you want to name as a survivor. So what we do is I ask you, who do you wish to name as a survivor? I need their date of birth, and then if they're male or female, I run the calculations for you, and I break it out and mail it to you. What happens is, upon your death, that survivor gets the same monthly amount that you choose. And then, when the survivor dies, it stops. Any money left in the account goes back to the state. If you take your lump sum out, you get less of a monthly, and the survivor gets the same monthly upon your death, and then again when they die, it stops. If the survivor predeceases you, you can name another survivor or pick another option. Okay? And what you would do is, upon the death of your survivor, contact me. I would then ask for information. I'd ask you if you want to name another survivor. I'd recalculate it. Your figure will not go up. It can only go down on a death. If it's a divorce, it's a totally different situation. And if there's a divorce, you want to speak to my supervisor regarding a divorce case. Any questions on option 2? Option 3, also survivor option. Again, based on the member's age and sex, and the survivor the person wants to name age and sex. However, the member gets a higher monthly pension, and the survivor gets 1/2 the member was getting. Again, leaving the lump sum in, you get more of a higher pension. Taking the lump sum out gives less of a pension. Again, upon the death of the member, the survivor gets the pension for as long as they live. When they die, it stops. Whatever's left in the account is given back to the state. The state gets to keep. Again, through death, divorce, or remarriage, you can change the option. Again, that becomes your max figure, and then they will readjust the figures after that. Now, after you do those other options, and you may want to create your own option, you give us a call and you would say, well, you know, George, I'm thinking about doing this or doing that. I say, put that in writing, submit it to me. I submit it to Harrisburg. Harrisburg submits to our actuaries in DC. They calculate to see if it's feasible, send it back to the Harrisburg office, to mail it back to me to contact you. And then if they do, you want to do that pretty much in advance. 6 months to 8 months in advance, so I can have that worked out and get it back to you, that it's approved, a special option. Any questions? Now, we do on our own calculator that if you wanted an option 2 or 3, and you still have young kids in their 20s and still going to college, which is common, that you would have, say, well, something happens to me and my wife are traveling, and upon our death, I want the balance paid out to my kids. I can work those on our calculator for you. So it's a special option to preserving the present value. And it would reduce your monthly, but I'd work it up for you and just see what it looks like. All right?
Are the SERS on the online calculation pretty accurate?
On the calculator?
No. The ones through the internet where you go in and put the information.
Yeah, the statement you get each year.
The statement's pretty accurate, yeah. But if you work them up, yeah, what you put in, I mean, if you're calculating yourself and well, I'll be making $200,000 this year, and it could be way off, but most cases you guys are pretty right on, yeah. You know what you're getting because of the union contracts. You know what you're doing with your summer schools, what you'll know by April. And then also, what overloads, chair positions, and you have all that calculated pretty much. Yeah, you put that in. 2 groups that don't have to worry about you and the engineers. But the PennDOT, they're pretty funny. They have saved all the old paperwork that they used to hand out the actuarial tables, and they sit there and hand calculate everything and tell me I'm off by $4. Now, if you're not retiring, but you're investing, you have over 5 years of state service, and you're deciding on leaving Westchester because you're looking for greener pastures, and decide, well, George, I'm leaving, what should I do with my money, what are my options? And I say, okay, look, let me work up, you're vested, so you're eligible for a pension. You could either take the money out now, or let it sit there and wait till you're 60. I would work up the figures for now, and when you're superannuated, send you both sets of figures and look, you may want to go talk to somebody, find out which is in your best interest, and then get back to me. If you decide to leave it there, we'll give you vesting forms. You can fill it out, name your beneficiary, and let the money sit there. If you want to take the money out, then I'd sit down there like a regular retirement session and just sign you up. Now, I think anybody under 60 here? Besides, the rest of you guys are over 60, okay? What will happen is, you don't want to, if you're over 60, you don't want a vesting account. You want to start taking the pension. So I'd advise you to begin taking the pension. Disability retirement. You would file disability retirements before termination, so while you're actively employed. If you can't continue to do your job with the state and you need to take a disability retirement, you contact me. Some people contact Vicki. Vicki calls me. I work up the figures. I work up a regular estimate, a disability estimate. I send you the disability pamphlet, the disability guidebook. I work up medical. I send you medical forms, and then you decide to do it. You get the medical forms completed. You take the medical forms for your doctor, to your doctor. You take one of the pamphlets, give your doctor a pamphlet and a job description, and then he works that up. The medical gives you a copy of all your medical. You come back to me with all the medical forms. I sign you for disability. You make application. I submit it to Harrisburg. The doctors then decide whether you're approved permanent, temporary, or you denied. And then if you're approved permanent or temporary, then you contact Human Resources and tell them you want to accept that and terminate. In the old days, if you were over 60, you weren't allowed to apply for disability. Now they changed that rule. That was under discrimination, so they changed that. So over 60, you're allowed to apply for disability if you wanted to. The only problem with disability retirement, if you're approved, you can't take your lump sum out under disability. So you have to leave the lump sum in under disability if you take the disability retirement. Disability retirement formula, Class AA members with at least 13.333 years of service. It's 2% times the class multiplier. In our case, would be 2.5 altogether, so it's just 2 years of service times the final average salary. Class AA members with less than 13.33 years of service, it's 1/3 the final average salary, or the other calculation, whichever is the lesser of, that's the one you get. Any need to go over this in a little more detail? It's a seminar looking at disability statement. You're all tired, aren't you? It's almost like biology, isn't it? Steps to retirement. Basically, you want to contact me, most of you already have contacted me, to do estimates. 90 days prior to during the date of termination to work up figures. In some cases, if you have out-of-state service or military service, you want to contact me sooner so I get the paperwork out to you so you can work it, get it in. So when I do your estimate, it will include the military or the out-of-state. Or I could do the one without the military or out-of-state, and then when we get it, we just add it on, and then you're pretty precise. Okay, this is what I'm going to do, because now I know what I'm getting pretty accurately, so I can make a right choice that I want to take. Once you get your estimate, you can contact me if you need me to go over, have a counseling session. Some of you guys do, some of you don't. Some of them take your financial planners. Some of them take your spouses. Your spouse will check it off. It's okay. And then we get together and sign the paperwork up. We don't sign you up more than 30 days in advance. All right. Sometimes I do here with the faculty because of finals. And it's an over, if it's really busy and stuff's going crazy, we get together and it may be 45 days, whatever, if we have to. And this may be crazy with stuff. So once you terminate, the big thing you got to watch out for, it takes 8 to 10 weeks from the date of termination. And one of the big reasons is you're closing out your account with Westchester. And then once that's closed out with Westchester, then it comes over to our office and we begin 2 independent audits of the account, service, money, time, and everything, and then we pay you out. So if proper notice, the faculty I don't have a problem because they usually like to give themselves proper notice, letter to the provost, and take care of that. But you should have follow the rules that they need. How much time do the faculty need? How much
4
notice?
months, at least 3 or 4 months.
Is that in the contract?
No, there's no required time, but obviously the sooner the better, so that your department can plan to cover your classes and things like that. But there's no required timeline.
No. Okay. Some like to give a year notice. I know that. So if you're going to give notice, and we also work together when you call in and say, well, I want to go June 28th and your 26th pay period, and go, well, no, that's not a good thing to do because the balance of those 26 pays will be paid in the 3rd quarter. You want to go talk to Diane about when that pay is going to be paid out. So you may want to change that to the beginning of June or a May date or June date, whatever the end of the semester is, so they can get the balance of those 26 pays paid to you by the end of June. There is, and Diane brought this up yesterday with the faculty, that once a year in April, Diane, that you could change your pay from 26 to 20. So you have to do it by April for next year.
Well, actually, you would have to request the change in April, so it's effective that fall. So if you're thinking about retiring this year, it would not help you. But if you're thinking maybe next year retiring, and you are interested in changing your pay options, you would do that in April. It would be effective in this fall.
So if someone's on 26 pays and plans to retire before the end of June, okay, the university gives them a lump sum of the difference in the money?
Yes.
Yes.
It does?
Yeah. And that makes a big difference, being paid in the 2nd quarter
Right.
versus the 3rd quarter.
Right, in other words, you gotta do it before. This notorious date of June 29th, that's the thing everybody's all worried about, as far as that concerned. My general sense it might be better to be safe and go even earlier than the 29th, or the 28th. In terms of when
Well,
you
it depends too, like if you're just going to teach, if you're teaching to the end of the spring semester, well then this year the semester ends on June 4th, so your final pay would actually be on the 18th of June. So if you decide to go out then, that would be fine. If you're teaching summer 1, I think it's a lump sum payment. There's one lump sum payment for your teaching summer 1, and it falls within the June month anyway. So you're okay there. I think where you have to be careful is if you were planning on teaching summer 2, you would get paid out in July, so that wouldn't help you.
Okay. Are we anticipating the possibility of this thing ratcheting up in terms of volume of the RIP goes through? The retirement incentive program that's being discussed with the union?
Yeah, we don't have any information at all really on it. We know that there's been discussion with the unions. We know that an initial proposal has been presented and that bargaining is scheduled to begin, but we don't know a time frame of when they're going to have something in place or when that retirement incentive program is going to do, or when it's going to be effective or anything like that. We don't have any of that information yet because, of course, it's subject to bargaining. So the proposal that was presented, which we haven't seen, could very well change.
Well, then I'm creating hypothetical. That's what professors do, hypotheticals, right? If the hypothetical hits and you have about 50 to 60 faculty members all of a sudden say, I'm out of here. This is a lot of money to me. I'm going to be gone myself. I'm thinking that way myself. Are we going to be able to handle the volume? Because what happens if all of a sudden 100 faculty at Westchester University say, I'm taking that money and I'm running because it's too good to be true? And that could happen.
A few years ago, we had, was it 2004, we had a bunch of people leave and you guys were a bit overwhelmed. What year was that? There were some contract changes that took place.
It was 2004 union contract, right? Because that was when the copay was coming on. If you retired at that time, your medical insurance did not have a copay. That's why there was a lot of faculty that left.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. And the best answer I can give you is it may take longer for us to deal with it, but we'll certainly deal with it. I mean,
plus that, and you've said in the past, you have 90 days to sign from the date of retirement.
Right, for the pension, you have 90 days.
Right.
And again,
we don't really want to do that. But,
right, but and again, you just have to wait and see what this says before you make a decision where it goes. I mean, you have to see the language, and our agency is not committing to anything because they're not involved in it. It's not this House and Senate. It's not the law. So, and then they still got to see whether if they do anything, if it's inside the pension law, is any money being paid? Is it pensionable and all? No one knows. So they're waiting to see what happens now. And the thing we've gone through different ones. Act 9, I did. Mello, I did. All of them. Since I've been 20-some years with the state, we were able to meet, get people done. Act 9 was a big one where I was signing people, and Carol decided to help out and put everybody in to get the Act 9, to get the AA that were leaving that year. And she put them in for a July 2nd or July 1st date of termination. And so that they wouldn't leave before then and put a termination in by May or June. But when she did that, she put the 056 transaction in. And the faculty that were going that didn't get a AA application, a form to convert their time to AA. So all I did was take my form, wipe my name out, wipe my social security number out, and put their names in. And I had it in each of their files. So when they met with me, they go, I never got one. I don't know what you're talking about. Here you go. I did it for you. This is mine. I whited it out. I redid everything. And I took care of everybody. And of course, someone goes, well, is there 200 faculty? It was like 6 faculty and two ASME members that I just had to take care of. And I had everybody, I take care of it that way. And I work really well with these guys. And anybody, if there's a problem, they go to you, you go to them, they go to me, we go to you, we meet you, we get done, we do a lot. We'll take care of it. If I screw up, that's not my fault. But,
So even if we're very sure that we want to go in June, it's to our advantage to sit tight and see what this RIP is before we declare. Is that right?
I really don't know. Like you said, we simply have no information about what the proposal is going to say, or what the it's going to say. So I really can't. And each union, I mean, they're bargaining separately with the unions, so each union can have something a little bit different. We really.
It might be retroactive. Who knows though? Yeah.
The contract expires next year, right? Not this year. The new contract.
No,
Next year.
the new contract is in 2011.
11. Next
They'll
year.
be negotiating next year.
Right. So that won't apply to us, probably. Anyway.
The RIP?
They accepted, right? Yeah. They probably submitted that with the next year contract, not before.
No, they're trying to do that.
They're trying to do it right now.
The majority is they're going to do that this year.
Yeah.
But we don't know for sure. We don't know for sure. That's the big if,
And the
unfortunately.
number out there is like $30,000.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's like 1/3 of your yearly salary. That's what they're throwing around as potential. I mean, I just heard that.
And another thing to remember too, because you have a lot of variables here, is if you retire before July 1st, your contribution of what you pay into your medical plan, you will still pay the percentage rates as they go up. The lowest percentage rate, you'll still pay that, the lowest percentage rate you'll still pay. However, it's based off the premium of the insurance. So if the premium amount is, say, $400, you will be grandfathered in at that $400 if you retire before July 1st. However, the percentage will go up. So the premium's $400, you pay 10% of $400 currently. On July 1st, that Get Healthy or the Healthy You, for the active employees, that was, if you participate in that program, you paid 10%. As a retiree, you don't have to participate in the Healthy You, but you will always enjoy or receive the lower percentage rate of whatever it is that the active employees are paying. But it's going to be based off the premium of what you were paying or what the premium was prior to July 1st. So the premium's going to go up and after that fact.
Yeah.
George,
Yes.
is any disadvantage or advantage of retiring during the time of year other than June 30th? I mean, like August, September?
We should just go by what the member wants. So if you want to go in the end of the semester, and I think if you're going now, you're going to go at the end of the semester. And for some reason, I had some faculty. Well, the end of the semester is June the 4th, right?
This year,
Yeah.
yes.
And then some guys, well, I want to go end of June, and I'm not teaching summer school. There's no reason
Right.
to wait that long, even if you're 20 pays. If you go at the end of the semester, go at the end of the semester. You're done. It's over with. If you're teaching the first if you're 20 pays and you teach the first session of summer school, then you go at the end of that. And that the change is good. If I didn't know that if they did it by April, then next year, if you're used to teaching a summer class, or some of the guy does a poetry thing, something goes on, and you want to continue to do that in your last year, you want to go to that 20 pays, because then come the first and second summer session, you can do without having it interfere with having to leave to lose out that balance at 26 pays. We can't say anything about what's going on, but I mean, we will work with you to do what it takes to get it done. When you hear, then you will hear, and then you want figures worked up, we'll work up the figures and take it from there. The big thing when you go and I want you call me, work up figures, and we meet. The other thing is that you have everything ready to go. Proofs of birth for you and your wife if you're picking option 2, copies of those, have the rollover form completed if you're rolling over the money, knowing how you want the option 4 money paid out. Do you want to do the installments? Do you have the dates that you want it? You don't want to sit there and go, yeah, I do want 4 installments, but I really haven't worked out the dates. Can we give you that at a later time? Well, no, not really. Let's not even sign the paperwork until you get that worked up. So you want to have, if you're going to name, if you're picking like a special option 2 or an option 1 benefit, you're going to name your wife as the principal beneficiary, or your husband as the principal beneficiary, and you're going to name contingent beneficiaries. Everybody comes to me and go, well, my son just moved, I don't have that. Well, then I can't process the paperwork until I get all that information. Or if I put it in, then if they don't have it and something happens to you, then they don't get paid on a timely manner. So a lot of cases, when you get held up and don't get paid on time, it's because you didn't follow through on anything. And if this is a rush or something comes down that I'm busy, well, I'm not got you, I got 600 people going, and I'm boom, 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 working on it. So if everybody's organized and set, and you have your paperwork complete, you have your rollover form complete, you have proofs of birth copies, you come in. I think that in 2004, the faculty were all laughing at me because I was telling the same joke over again. And so by the time the last few people were coming in, they were telling the story before I got to it. So they all had it all. They're beating at my punchlines. I'm like, George, you're really tired. So we just did a lot of people. And everybody was really good. We got everybody in, and it was amazing that we had everybody done. But yeah, we 2004, yeah.
Do you need proofs of birth of all beneficiaries?
No, proof of birth for survivor, for you and your survivor. If they're going to name as a beneficiary, I need to know their names and dates of birth and addresses for the beneficiary form. Vicky's going to need to have, you're going to need to know date of marriage and spouse's date of birth and all that for health care.
Which you will have probably if you already have one health plan.
Right. But still, you should have as much stuff there. It's better to have it there and not use it than to have it, not have it and say, well, I'll get back to you on this. And you got finals, you got clearing out your desk, you're clearing out your office, you're doing this and this and this. And it just becomes it's a lot of work. And your students want to stop by, you know what I mean? It gets really hectic. Yeah, they do. I know they do. They want to stop by and say goodbye.